Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week. Before we dive into our topic for the day, which is inside Secura, I'd like to share a little bit about the last week here at BankSocial. We had John at ETH Denver last week where he interviewed with the Street.com's roundtable and spoke on the XRP meetup panel. And then he headed straight over to the Duke campus for the weekend to attend a hackathon. That winner is going to be announced next week, so please stay tuned to hear a little bit more. And then don't forget about the Block Street giveaway that we have. That contest ends tonight, and the winner is going to be announced on X tomorrow. So today's conversation is going to bring together frontline experience across federal investigations, blockchain intelligence, and institutional risk to explore how fraud is actually detected, mitigated, and recovered in real-world environments. So I'd like to turn it over to our speakers for the day, starting with Aaron. If you guys could each please share your background and how your experience shapes your perspective on modern fraud and financial security.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Erin DeWitt. I'm a partner with D-Risk Partners. I started my career in the Federal Reserve System. I was a regulator. I covered everything from international supervision to large bank supervision for over 5 years. Then I made a transition to Capital One Financial, where I was there for 8 years with senior risk positions at the bank level. And also my last role was the Chief Risk Officer for U.S. Card. Then I made the transition to be the Chief Risk Officer for Scottrade Financial up until the sale to TD Ameritrade. So I was there for about 2 to 3 years and had both the holding company and all its subsidiaries, the banks, asset management, and the broker-dealer, which most people are familiar with. I then made a transition to recapitalize a bank that was about to fail in Louisiana, and recapitalized the bank and turned the bank around and cleaned it up on both the risk and compliance side, as well as it had some asset quality issues to work through. And since then, I've been in the consulting space and I'm pleased to be a partner with D-Risk Partners, which was founded a little over 1.5 years ago on the premises that we were going to bridge a critical gap. And that gap really is how to bring that institutional grade experience. So a lot of my team members come from Citi, JP Morgan, Amex, and how can we bring them to build in-house compliance programs with that experience to what we consider some of the underserved, meaning the cryptos and the fintechs and the credit unions. So that is the premises of what we serve at D-Risk.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Justin Hanson. I'm currently the Director of Secure Relations at BankSocial for the last 8 months. Before that, I retired from the U.S. Secret Service after a 25-year career with them. My last 8 years with the Secret Service, I supervised our financial crimes task force, and I'm also currently an adjunct professor at a university where I develop several graduate level courses on blockchain technology and cryptocurrency investigations. So I've been on this evolution from both a law enforcement and private sector recovery side. So I'm going to turn it over now to Gurvais.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gurvais Grigg. I'm a board member and advisor to BankSocial. I began my career many years ago as a stock and bond broker insurance with both Series 6, Series 7 license before getting recruited into the FBI, where I spent the next 23 years working cases as an FBI agent and executive, everything from violent crime and white collar major fraud cases to counterterrorism, national security. Spent a good bit of that time working information technology and forensic solutions, digital assets and matters. When I retired from the FBI, I became the Chief Technology Officer for Public Sector at Chainalysis, where I spent about 4.5 years before starting my own company a few years ago, and now doing a lot of things like this. And this is one of the topics that's a great passion of mine is anti-fraud and helping victims recover their assets. So hope you'll enjoy today's discussion. I'm glad to be here.
And I'm John, and I can tell you
so much,
some
Gurvais.
stuff about
John?
Can you not hear me? Okay, all right. Yeah, so I'm John Wingate. I'm the founder and CEO here. I could probably tell you a bunch of stuff, but not as cool as any of these people that came before me. And so I'm just really lucky to be here on this call with them and get to learn from them and all the great and wonderful experience that they have and how it shapes the way we architect, design, and then deliver those deliver those experiences to financial institutions, their consumers, their members, and that's really thinking through it from the very front end where they interact with the actual buttons on the screen to push money, all the way down through the compliance components that result in, how you respond to regulators and how you report to regulators, or how you report to FinCEN, how you report really or maintain compliance across the board. And so just really excited today to be able to bring these unique perspectives and then help you understand how our solution delivers those unique perspectives in a repeatable, algorithmic, and consumer and employee focused way.
Thanks so much, John. I'd like to start with Gurvais for this next question and then go around the room. Gurvais, from your vantage point, how has fraud evolved across digital assets, payments, and financial institutions over the last few years?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of dynasty in this space. Obviously, it's one that changes, and that's the nature of digital assets and the blockchain. But in particular, we're seeing the infusion of new technologies that are coming in and allowing fraud to be committed at scale. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, the introduction of AI-assisted tooling to help these criminal and organized crime groups be able to expand their reach, their penetration, and really compressing their time to insight. Before, we used to track the amount of time that a fraud would take and its lifespan, if you will. What we are seeing is the lifespan of these frauds getting smaller and smaller. Where they launch, they take advantage of zero-day exploits, and they're able to run as fast and as far as they can. And before they get caught, they switch to the next one. So these AI-assisted tools, this rapidity in the marketplace is definitely a trend that we're concerned about. The second point is the integration between criminal groups and nation state actors, where they share infrastructure, they share their methodologies and approaches. And that's a dangerous combination, right? Where you can take tools that used to only exist by nation state powers and now enabling criminal groups to be able to do that. Just this past weekend, we saw what a criminal group, well armed, can do to unsettle a nation, such as in Mexico. So imagine if criminal groups can get nation state actor digital tools and do the same thing against unwary populations. In crime, you used to worry about, is my neighborhood safe? In the digital world, your attacker may not even be on the same continent, much less in your neighborhood. So we're seeing that internationalization of crime and moving at a speed that makes it difficult for investigators to keep up with.
Gurvais, I'll ask a question there because I think Mexico is a very interesting topic right now. Did you see that Claude, a gentleman armed only with Claude, was able to hack into White Hat, of course, and didn't publish everything, but was able to hack into government databases, voting registration databases, the equivalent of Social Security databases in Mexico, just with Claude, Claude, like 2 days ago, yesterday.
It's crazy. In this world, we want speed, access. I saw some statistics about where banking customers want they want to be able to open up a new account and finish everything with their KYC in 10 minutes. They want to be able to get on, and even sooner than that, right? Yeah. I want contactless payments. To do that, institutions have got to open up. But as they do that, can they open up securely that keeps the requirements in place, but also meets the customer expectation for speed and access? And those are almost, in some ways, opposing objectives. And so if a company or an organization can find the sweet spot that balances those two, those are the ones that are going to succeed.
Exactly, because the expectation is not going away. Like, they don't care about security until it happens to them, but the expectation of speed and kind of best-in-class consumer experience is only getting faster and faster, and it's balancing those two things. Justin, I think we had an email that came through last week, and Aaron, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. We saw an email from a vendor who, made some comments. I won't go into what those comments were, but, on the back end of putting certain types of assets like Bitcoin on your balance sheet. And, for those who aren't aware, there's something called a call report where a credit union has to issue a legal kind of regulatory response. Is it quarterly, Aaron?
Quarterly.
Yeah, quarterly. And what call reports are is basically, here's our balance sheet, here's everything that we have. From y'all's take, and I can certainly share my thought, but Justin, maybe you and Aaron can chime in on this. for a financial institution to put something on their call reports that they get no benefit of monetarily, financially, what does it do to a credit union or a bank who says, I've got $20 million of Bitcoin sitting in my core disclosed? What would you say to that, Justin? And then we'll follow up with you, Aaron, as somebody who's seen the sophistication of how these actors target, hone in, and then go after your systems, your institutions.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, they're going to target institutions that show exactly what's on their, what's in their wallets or their, what they have, all their assets they're listing, especially if they get into specifics where they can, use that information against these institutions. And then they know, like, why not go after this institution? It's got 20 Bitcoins. Why am I going to waste my time with another platform that may have their stuff hidden or controlled better?
My sentiment exactly. Aaron, what about your thought from just the compliance of, that statement that came out where they were trying to argue for putting, crypto on a balance sheet as a positive? Certainly, there might be some positives there. I think that the NCUA and others have come out and said you can't do that. But let's put that aside. What can you see from just a compliance and a regulatory risk there? From knowing what and knowing what they can and can't do and what risks this brings up?
So I think it brings up tremendous risk, and I think it's going to be a pushback to the regulators of, yes, do you have to disclose in the call report, but they have, over time, the call report has evolved and they have blacked out certain numbers or things of nature that are, not necessarily to the general public. But I do think that they're going to have to pull together, because what you're going to see is more events like that, where they know somebody has access to it, or the volume. I mean, you're really just saying, here I am, come get me. It's a red flag. And you're putting the financial institutions in a really difficult spot. So they're following the rules for transparency, but they're also opening themselves up to be a target. And so I think that's going to be escalated and has to be decisioned. But I think it's something that has to happen sooner rather than later, because you don't want to have more of these cases bubbling up to the system. It's going to make people very nervous using the product, and organizations even more hesitant to want to offer such services. So I think it's a service that the regulators are going to have to group together and figure out how they're going to address it holistically.
Yeah, I think that's both great points on that. I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that, because those things have happened really recently. I know we didn't have it planned for, but just wanted to get some thoughts there. Catherine, go ahead, and we can go kind of continue on with the.
Yeah, no, that's a great segue into talking about prevention before loss occurs, which was my next topic. I wanted to hear from you guys how AI-assisted systems changing the ability to detect fraud earlier compared to traditional monitoring approaches.
Well, maybe I can. Oh, go ahead, Gurvais. No,
John, please.
Well, I was just going to maybe facilitate, and Gurvais, if you want to go ahead and take the first thought there, just around, how you can't just combat AI with humans, right? That's kind of the first place my head goes. But Gurvais, what are your thoughts?
So as I'm hearing the discussion, you think about criminals like predators spend a portion of their time hunting, right? Finding the right hunting environment, finding the right victim, the prey that they're going to do. What do prey do? Prey spend time concealment, cover, right? And careful movement, right? Because they don't want to draw attention to the movement. So in the natural world, we see camouflage, we see concealment, staying low, etc. Well, when we look at AI-assisted tools, it compresses the hunting time for the predator, right? Now, and it multiplies their impact. Instead of having to go out there one bad guy against one victim, now a bad guy using AI-assisted tools can target 1,000 victims simultaneously and learn on the fly what techniques are working, what scripts are responding to which demographics that they're targeting, right? And so it allows them to become smarter and scale. And imagine if an organized criminal group that has resources that maybe they generate through narcotics proceeds, extortion, or other types of criminal activity can then reinvest back into their business to buy the technology and tooling. You can see where this goes very quickly. And so you're right. You cannot combat AI without engaging AI yourself. because it's not humanly possible to monitor that many threat channels and that many attack vectors. And so you have to look at those kind of tooling. On the other hand, you need to be very, very careful what tools you bring on and how those are vetted so they don't then turn around and be weaponized back against you. Sadly, when I was in the FBI, and Justin remembers this in his time at the Secret Service, all too often when we would look at the law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty each year, a significant percentage of them all too often were killed with their own weapon. Right? So weapon retention became a really important part of our training. There's really no difference in this world as well. You need to be very, very careful about what tools you implement, because without proper vetting and security, those things can be turned around and used back against you.
Yeah, and kind of having that be involved, or having that be a part of the flow too, so you're not reacting to situations. You're able to be more proactive in situations, but it's a balancing of that. What about you, Justin? What are your thoughts there on AI?
Yeah, I mean, AI is great. It's a game changer, but it's also a game changer for both sides of the equation, right? So like Gurvais was saying, like, it's a value tool in helping detect fraud, but it's also an arrow in the quiver of the suspects too. And they're using those, and they're using AI to change their accents to language to English, and they're targeting Americans. And what once where someone would be suspicious picking up the phone and talking with someone with a different dialect or an accent, now they're picking up the phone and you're from Texas, they're hearing someone on the other end that sounds like they're from Texas and has the same accent, which builds trust within, these victims. And then all of a sudden, the trust is built, and then they're giving out information that they shouldn't, and then their wallets are compromised, and they lose a lot of funds. So yeah, AI is great, but there's a balancing act, like Gurvais said, and we got to make sure you maintain that.
Well, the way to kind of think about fighting AI with AI is as that AI is quantum on the other side, Gurvais, to your point about it can modify and change, the AI on your side has to be able to go out and validate, right? Can it go out and validate 15, 20, 30, 50 different components about the interaction that it's having to verify that what's going on is what's happening? So it's not just about more readily ingesting data. It's also being able to go out and verify a lot more paths on this. So everything that you just talked about that the suspects are using, Gurvais, you've almost got to deploy the countermeasure on the opposite side to stay ahead of that curve. Aaron, what do you